A woman once placed an old gold bracelet on a buying counter and received a fair offer. The buyer tested the metal, weighed it correctly, allowed for refining, and quoted exactly what the gold was worth to him. Nothing dishonest happened. She still could have lost thousands, because the scale answered only one question: how much recoverable metal is here? It did not ask who made the bracelet, whether the stones were important, whether the enamel survived, whether the parts still matched, or whether a collector would pay far more to keep the object intact. That is the danger in selling jewelry by weight. The number can be accurate and still be completely wrong for the piece. So here are 10 pieces I would never let reach the scrap tray before checking where their real value lives. And number 1 proves the point brutally, because the piece weighed less than an ordinary heavy bracelet, yet it sold for the price of a house deposit. Number 10. Handcrafted gold jewelry with serious workmanship. Start with the piece that tempts people into the simplest mistake. It is gold, it is heavy, and it has no obvious giant diamond. The owner assumes the design is decoration and the weight is the asset. Sometimes the design is the asset. Look for granulation, twisted wire, micro-mosaic, hand engraving, repoussé, fine filigree, articulated sections, or enamel applied into tiny cells. Those details represent skilled labor that disappears the second the piece enters a furnace. Sotheby's once placed an estimate between $85,000 and $95,000 on a Castellani Archaeological Revival gold brooch from around 1860. The gold alone did not create that number. The handmade construction, the signature, the age, and the survival of the object did. That does not mean every engraved bangle is secretly Castellani. It means you must not price workmanship before identifying it. Here's the 10-second check. Turn the piece over. Look at the back, the joints, and the places the original buyer was never expected to admire. Machine-made decoration often becomes rough or empty behind the front. Exceptional handmade jewelry usually remains deliberate everywhere. Search for a maker's mark, fine tool work, tiny applied wires, clean hinges, and construction that would be expensive to reproduce now. The scale can price the gold. It cannot price the hours. Number 9. Complete matched sets. A brooch with matching earrings. A necklace with a detachable pendant. A bracelet with its companion clips. These pieces often arrive in a box together and leave a scrap counter as unrelated piles. That separation can erase the premium. Collectors pay for completeness because matched survivors become harder to assemble with every passing decade. The color of the enamel agrees. The stones were chosen together. The backs carry related marks. The wear tells one history. Remove one earring, sell the pendant separately, or melt the smallest component, and the surviving pieces may become ordinary fragments of a set that no longer exists. The money here is not a guaranteed percentage. Sometimes the premium is modest. On rare signed sets, it can be multiples. The important point is that a buyer cannot bid on completeness after you destroy it. Your fast check is simple. Lay every related piece side by side before anyone separates them. Compare maker's marks, construction, stone matching, enamel colors, hinge styles, and fitted spaces in the original box. An empty slot is evidence. A repeated serial pattern is evidence. A necklace with a hidden fitting for the brooch is evidence. Never let the smallest piece in a set be weighed as though it arrived alone. Number 8. Antique lockets with original interiors. A scrap buyer sees 2 thin shells of gold, a hinge, and perhaps a little glass. A collector may see an intact private object. In late 2025, Christie's sold an antique gold necklace with a detachable ruby, old-cut diamond, and gold locket for $21,590. It dated to around 1880, weighed 61 grams gross, and the locket hinge was broken. The damage did not reduce the entire object to scrap, because the necklace, detachable design, stones, age, and locket still formed something catalogable. Open old lockets slowly. Inside, you may find original glass, gold retaining frames, inscriptions, miniature paintings, photographs, hairwork, or a maker's number hidden beneath the rim. Do not throw away the photograph because you do not recognize the person. Do not pry out the glass to test the gold. Do not polish an inscription until the shallow letters disappear. The 10-second check is to examine the hinge, the interior frames, and both inner surfaces under angled light. Fresh glue, plastic replacement covers, crude tabs, and bright new scratches can reveal later changes. Original interiors do not make every locket valuable, but they are part of the evidence, and evidence is exactly what scrap valuation ignores. Number 7. Gold jewelry with original enamel. Enamel has almost no scrap value. That is why it can be the most valuable thing you are about to destroy. A black enamel gold bracelet from around 1880 sold at Bonham's for $4,864 in 2025. A famous maker was not required for the enamel, period design, condition, and provenance to matter. In other cases, a recognized maker can push the number dramatically higher. The trap is cleaning. Owners see dark surfaces and assume the piece needs to shine before it can be evaluated. A Aggressive polishing can soften engraving, remove gold detail, and chip the glassy enamel along raised edges. Once a cell is missing, no amount of bright gold around it recreates the original surface. Hold the piece under soft side light. Look for hairline cracks, small chips at corners, cloudy repairs, bubbles, and color that changes abruptly inside one panel. Then inspect the back for a maker's mark before touching the front. If the enamel is intact, stop. A specialist should see it in its current state. The gold is replaceable. Original enamel from a century ago is not. Number 6, mourning and memorial jewelry. This is the category most likely to look gloomy, unfashionable, or even unsettling in a modern jewelry box. Black enamel, hair under glass, names of strangers, dates nobody in the family remembers, a small skull. A ring that seems too personal for anyone else to want. That personal history is exactly why some collectors want it. A gold and enamel mourning ring from around 1580, centered by an enameled skull and the words Memento Mori, carried an estimate of $2,000 to $3,000 at Sotheby's. A mourning ring made for the composer George Friedrich Handel carried an estimate between 10,000 and 15,000 pounds. Same broad category, completely different stakes, because identity, inscription, rarity, and provenance can outrank the metal. Your quick test begins inside the band. Read every name, date, age, motto, and maker's mark. Check whether a locket compartment still contains hair, a portrait, or an inscription. Photograph all of it before cleaning. Then search the full wording, not one initial at a time. Most memorial rings are not connected to Handel or Washington, but selling one by weight guarantees that you will never discover whether the inscription mattered. If this is already changing the way you see the scrap drawer, subscribe, because the final 5 are where the gold itself becomes less and less important. From here, a stone, a signature, or one original mechanism can outrank the entire melt value. Number 5, jewelry set with old cut diamonds. Old mine cuts, old European cuts, rose cuts, and early brilliant styles do not perform like modern round diamonds. They may have broad facets, irregular outlines, deep bodies, or an open coulet visible as a small dark point in the center. To an untrained eye, they can look dull, clumsy, or badly cut. To the right buyer, they're the reason the piece exists. Bonham sold a diamond flower brooch, built from cushion-shaped and old brilliant cut diamonds and dating in part to around 1820 for £23,040 in 2025. Christie sold an antique diamond heart pendant weighing only 8.9 grams gross for £6,300. The reverse still held a glazed locket compartment and an inscription dated 1901. Those results were not created by weighing a few grams of metal. Turn the jewel sideways and underneath. Look for a visible coulet, chunky facet pattern, foil-backed or closed settings, silver-topped gold construction, and stones that vary slightly because they were cut by hand. Do not let anyone remove the diamonds merely to find out what the mounting weighs. Removal can damage old settings and can separate stones from the arrangement that gives them historical meaning. This is the same lesson from our used jewelry breakdown. The stone and the setting can be two different assets. Before you sacrifice either one, identify both. Number 4, jewelry containing an important natural colored stone. A small gold ring can carry a stone worth many times the mounting. Once that happens, the scale becomes almost comic. Sotheby's offered an early 20th century emerald and diamond brooch with a Colombian emerald estimated between roughly 4.2 and 4.6 carats. A laboratory report described only a minor amount of oil in the fissures, and the piece carried an estimate between 12,000 and 15,000 Swiss francs. The gross weight was about 35 grams, but the laboratory information, origin, treatment level, and antique construction were doing work the scale could never do. The same principle applies to ruby, sapphire, alexandrite, spinel, jadate, natural pearl, and other stones where origin or treatment can transform the market. Color alone proves almost nothing. A beautiful stone may be synthetic, heavily treated, or imitation. A sleepy stone may be natural, old, and important. Your 10-second move is not a home test. It is a stop sign. Do not heat it, scratch it, soak it, or let it be removed casually. Photograph the stone face up and from the side. Look for chips at facet junctions, obvious cracks, glue, and uneven color. Then ask whether a respected gemological laboratory report exists and whether its measurements match the actual stone. If the stone may be the expensive part, weighing the ring is like pricing a painting by the canvas. Number 3, signed fine jewelry. Now the name enters the equation. A gold brooch stamped with a respected house is not automatically authentic, rare, or desirable. But when the signature agrees with the workmanship, numbers, marks, materials, and known design, the object may trade in a completely different market from anonymous gold. Christie's sold a signed Chanel lion brooch in 18-karat gold, set with citrine and diamonds, for $17,780 in late 2025. It weighed 67.6 grams gross. The weight mattered, but the house, design, stones, French marks, maker's mark, number, and intact double pin were all part of the catalog description. Remove those layers and you are no longer selling the same thing. The quick check is not simply spotting a logo. Read the whole back. Look for the signature, purity mark, serial or reference number, country marks, maker's mark, and consistency of font and spacing. Then compare the weight, dimensions, clasp, stone setting, and finish with authenticated examples. Packaging supports a story, but boxes travel. The physical object must agree. As we covered in the fake versus real work on this channel, a signature is evidence only when everything around it tells the same story. Number 2, signed vintage costume jewelry. Here's the twist that exposes how limited a scale really is. Some of the most dangerous jewelry to sell by weight contains almost no precious metal at all. Christie sold a 1985 Chanel necklace and brooch set made from gripois glass, faux pearls, and gold-plated metal for $3,024. That is not a melt result. More dramatically, a John Galliano-era Christian Dior Maasai necklace from 1997 or 1998 sold at Christie's in 2026 for $20,320. Again, the market was buying design, runway history, rarity, condition, and attribution. A scrap counter may reject these pieces because the metal is not valuable. A donation sorter may throw them into a $5 bag. Both decisions can miss the same collector market. Turn the piece over before you judge the front. Look for a signed cartouche, date or season code, correct hardware, quality casting, deliberate backs, and period-appropriate construction. Check every glass stone and faux pearl for loss. Do not assume tarnish means worthless, and do not assume a famous stamp means genuine. The largest costume names are also among the most copied. The scale cannot undervalue these pieces because it cannot value them at all. Number 1, intact signed period jewelry with original convertible fittings. This is where every lesson in the countdown meets in one object. Precious metal, diamonds, maker, period, engineering, completeness, and a mechanism that allows the jewel to change form. In June of 2025, Christie sold a Cartier Art Deco diamond double-clip brooch for £94,500. The pair dated to around 1930. Both clips were signed Cartier London, and one was numbered. The original fitting allowed them to be worn together as a brooch or separately as 2 clips. The gross weight was 28.7 grams. 28.7 grams. That is the payoff promised at the beginning. A scale could describe the mass. It could not describe the Cartier signatures, the Art Deco date, the diamond arrangement, the survival of both matching clips, or the original frame that turned 2 ornaments into one convertible jewel. The sale price exceeded the high estimate by a wide margin because bidders were competing for the intact object, not its ingredients. Your 10-second check is to look for hidden rails, removable clips, pendant loops, bracelet frames, screw fittings, and empty-shaped spaces in an old box. Never force a mechanism. Never discard a strange metal frame because it appears to be an accessory. It may be the part that proves how the jewel was meant to work. The worst scrap mistake is not receiving a low gold price. It is receiving a perfectly fair gold price for something that should never have been priced as gold. Now the honest note. Most ordinary jewelry is not secretly an auction treasure. A broken anonymous chain may genuinely be worth little beyond its recoverable metal. A plain worn band with no important maker, stone, history, or design may reasonably be sold with the gold price as its anchor. Old does not mean rare. Heavy does not mean well made. An auction estimate is not a guaranteed selling price, and an insurance appraisal is not cash waiting behind a counter. Condition can erase a collector premium. Enamel can be too damaged. A set can be incomplete. A stone can be treated or synthetic. A famous signature can be fake. Provenance can be a family story that collapses the moment someone asks for evidence. So the lesson is not never scrap jewelry. The lesson is never scrap it before checking whether scrap is actually its highest market. And this is the same answer this channel gives every week. Put the piece in front of a person who is paid to identify the object, not only by the metal. Start with a good independent jeweler. If the workmanship, mark, age, or stone deserves another level, move to a qualified gemologist, specialist appraiser, auction specialist, or brand authentication service. A good professional should be able to explain what they see under magnification while you watch. Tell me in the comments about the piece in your family that somebody nearly sold, melted, donated, or threw away. Tell me what it was, what was stamped on the back, and what happened when someone finally checked it. I read every one. This channel takes no sponsorships and no paid placements. No brand, dealer, auction house, refiner, or gold buyer pays to be praised or buried here. And that independence is the only reason I can tell you when the scale is useful and when it is the wrong tool. If straight answers like this are why you keep coming back, the join button below makes you a member and keeps these breakdowns honest. Know what the object is before you reduce it to what it weighs. because once history enters the furnace, you only get the metal back. I will see you in the next one.